guys, and welcome to another episode of the Alpha Male Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Heather Krause.
And I'm our co-host and Father Gregg Krause. Thanks for joining us today. Today's topic.
Yeah, so last week we talked about cancer, and not a very fun subject, but something that's very relevant. And we actually got a ton of questions on, what, because we didn't really touch on diet last week. It was more like, asking questions and what to look for in a doctor. But we got a bunch of questions for how do you eat if you are diagnosed or, like a loved one's diagnosed, which diet does play such a huge role when something like that happens. Food is medicine. So.
Yeah, and I will say from going through it myself, it is a scary thing because the doctors make it sound like they're God, and you got to follow exactly what they say.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some of the doctors have very, very good intentions, and other doctors, it's a job, and they just follow whatever they were taught. And not that it's the latest and greatest, but that's what they know.
Yeah, and it's also like, not just to follow them, but to follow them now. So, like, there's definitely, they put a lot of urgency on their recommendations, for sure. Like, increasing your fear.
Right. They don't give you a chance to stop and really go out and talk to maybe another medical place or someone else who has experienced cancer, because I know there's many different types out there. But it sure seems like a lot of things would help whatever type of cancer you have.
Mm-hmm. And, with diet recommendations, this goes even if you do, decide to do chemo, radiation, whatever treatment you're, looking to do, because it takes a huge toll on the body. So, and a lot of times people have trouble like holding food down, they get nauseous, even just the whole chemo radiation process, they lose a lot of weight. So, regardless.
And I guess just to interrupt you, in my situation, I lost 50 to 60 pounds of body weight when I was going through it.
Yeah, and it was like a month and a half, I think it was. So it was crazy. It was definitely a very fast, rapid weight loss. So, but you put it back on just as fast. So, and that's what we want to, kind of hone in today is how do you stay healthy and keep that weight and keep good, healthy weight on that's going to help you get through whatever treatment that, you decide to do.
And I know I got an argument with the nutritionists at the hospital because they have some funky guidelines. Because I was down to 153 or 56 pounds, whatever it was. That's how they fed me. And I'm like, I'm usually 210 to 220. So you're not feeding me correctly. And luckily my doctor, NMD Anderson, great guy, he said, Greg, I'm going to write a prescription so you can do what you need to do. And I gained like 30 pounds back in like 2.5, 3 weeks. And once again, it was weight that I had on me before.
Well, it's crazy that you needed a prescription by a doctor to eat the way you thought that you should eat. Like, that's wild to me.
Well, because the nutritionist controlled everything at the hospital. I had a feeding tube.
I know, but I'm saying, like, you should be able to control that. Like, what if the doctor said no? I just think that whole thing's why. I mean, we would have done it anyway, let's be honest.
I would have snuck it in more.
Yeah. I mean, we're just happy we got to do it the easy way. But but so many people that would stop them. I feel like they'd be afraid to ask or push forward.
And one thing the doctor said, they were amazed at how quickly I recovered and everything else that normally doesn't happen. Well, I think a lot of it goes back to we were aggressive by how we wanted to come back and be normal again.
Yes, and I definitely think that played a huge part in it. Like, it was just, we're going to come back we're not going to kind of I don't know, wallow in our losses, and we're just going to hurry up and get all this weight back on and just kind of get back to normal. Whereas I think, again, a lot of people kind of take a step back. They feel a little defeated. And I think the quicker that they can put it back on, that all that muscle memory that they have, it's going to come on quicker the quicker you kind of try to put it back on.
And once again, I exercised while I was doing this. I just didn't sit around with a feeding tube in. In the beginning, I walked. And they will tell you at MD Anderson, I set the record 86 or 88 laps, whatever it was, 2 days after my surgery. Now, once again, I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you to get up and get moving and join the human race again.
Yeah.
Because when I went around on that floor and I looked in every room, those people were just laying there. And I kept nodding to them to come on and walk with me, and some of them did, and they felt a lot better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, movement is super important. I mean, you worked out through, even when you were doing chemo and stuff and radiation, you lifted.
Matter of fact, after radiation, I would drink a protein drink, go to the gym, and train for an hour.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget, guys, too, like nutrition, like with lifting, just like in the gym when you're breaking down your muscles and your cells and just, you eat to repair that, that's how it is with radiation. Your cells are getting blasted. Like, you need to make sure you're eating to repair your body and to nourish it.
And what rebuilds your body? What nutrients?
Protein, hands down.
Which is made up of amino acids.
Yes.
Which is what your body uses to rebuild itself.
Mm-hmm.
I love broccoli, but broccoli don't build muscle.
No. Mm-mm. And so what, that I'll ask you, even though I know what you're going to say, what diet would you, if you're talking about, too, with nutrients and macros, what kind of diet would you recommend, generally speaking, if somebody was diagnosed with cancer, no matter what kind of cancer, what would you tell them to do?
I guess the first thing I would tell them to do is to write down what they're eating and send it to me. And then, or you, because since you do this with me, and we would look at it. And I know right off the get-go, the donuts, the cookies, the candy.
Yeah.
And I know you don't feel good. You feel sorry for yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's a comfort food. Well, that comfort food ain't helping you.
No.
Remember, sugar feeds cancer.
Across the board. That's how it is.
And that's why we would knock down all those simple carbohydrates, with sugar being number one. And I would eat more of I know people don't like to hear this, the carnivore diet. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you what, it'll help keep your body going. It'll keep you strong to fight all this. And it's important that your body repairs itself because of everything you're going through. And that was one thing I know the doc was amazed with myself, how quick I bounced back and everything else. I mentioned this once before. He was using me as an example. He had to go to Sweden or...
I think it was Amsterdam.
Amsterdam, yeah. I'm sorry. My brain cells aren't back yet. But he was one of the guest speakers that they picked 6 from around the world. And I was the subject that we did a video for him to play over there and what I did and what I look like and everything. And not that I'm Superman, but I didn't sit back and listen to just what they told me. I asked, why? Why do you want me to do that? Why do you want me to eat that? Why can't I eat this? Why can't I do that? And I think that's so important that you empower yourself and do some reading and don't just listen to the one doctor.
No.
Go out. We went to many places.
Well, also with that about don't just listen to the doctor, like how we said, sugar feeds cancer. Well, they will have a plate of cookies waiting for you after you're done with radiation, like as a reward. Or like you had some of one of your side effects from radiation was a dry throat, and they told him the remedy is to suck on lemon heads. Well, lemon heads have sugar in them, and we were like, wait, what? We're like, you want like sugar-free ones, even though those have chemicals in them. But we were just curious, like where this person's head was at, and they're like, no, like regular ones. We're like, the ones with sugar and you had throat cancer, which means the sugar is going like right over where you have cancer. Like, is this person out of their mind?
And right where you radiated me.
Yeah. So, and sugar damages your cells anyway, like cancer or not, it damages cells. And so especially if you're going through a chemo or radiation where your cells are getting damaged and cells that shouldn't be damaged are getting damaged, the last thing you want to do is put sugar, something damaging, into your body. So it doesn't make any sense.
And I know a lot of you are addicted to having something sweet. Mm-hmm. One thing I know Heather and I do with our clients, if it's somebody just wanting to get back in shape, if they have sugar with every meal, we have them do sugar at every other meal. Mm-hmm. Run that for a week. Then we do it for like once a day. They can have one meal. And then we've eventually moved to once every other day, every 3 days, etc., until you are in control again. What you got to realize is sugar's like a drug, like heroin.
It is. It's one of the most like addictive substances on the planet. And obviously we want no sugar, but when you're working with an addict, like you gotta like sometimes wean them off because they can't. They have really bad withdrawals. They feel even more like crap, after what they're going through. So you kind of have to work with them on this. And so it's not terrible, like you said, to just slowly wean them off, but to do it as fast as possible because, it really makes a difference.
And you'll notice you'll start feeling better once you get away from that. Now, we're not telling you never have sugar again. I'm going to give you my own situation. Once a week, and it's usually Sunday, my last meal of the day or second last meal of the day, I'll have something that's sweet, whether it's ice cream or whatever. But by the time I have that, it's the end of the day. So I'm not getting all these mad cravings because I'm getting ready to go to bed shortly. But if you start eating it early in the day, then those cravings sometimes come up and bite you in the rear end. So set yourself up for success. And if you need more help with that, feel free to contact us.
Mm-hmm. And two, if you are one of those that are addicted to sugar and, you find yourself in this situation, you got diagnosed with cancer and you got to stop, and you got to wean yourself off. One thing I would recommend is start those meals that you are eating sugar, whether it's ice cream or candy, whatever, try to get away from high fructose corn syrup and try to find something with ideally organic sugar or, there's coconut sugar. There's all different kinds that are more, less processed. Still, best scenario is no sugar, but at least you're getting better options and you're starting to get away from those chemicals and those anything that causes an insane amount of inflammation. So I would start to do that. I would, let's just say you can't give up your ice cream. Well, I would start looking for an ice cream that's more natural, or even bake it something yourself. That's actually the best thing is bake your own cake, and not from a Duncan Hines box. I'm talking from scratch. So you know what ingredients you're putting in, because that's going to be a lot better than picking up some, Betty Crocker cake that is there's so many chemicals in it. It's insane.
And yours would probably taste better than the store-bought one.
1,000%. And just a side note, I saw something on Instagram. I'm going to warn people, take it with a grain of salt because it was on Instagram. But I heard that Texas passed a law that they gave companies 1 year to get certain food dyes out and certain ingredients out, or else they're making them put a warning label on their food saying not fit for human consumption. So, like they're starting to put pressure on things. And one of those things, one of the items that they was using as an example was like Betty Crocker's like strawberry cake. And because if you ever look at the ingredients in that stuff, it's terrible. Like food colorings, and it says natural flavors, and that is so misleading. Natural flavors, a company can put anything underneath there and like claim it under natural flavors. So also keep that in mind. If you see natural flavors, I would put it down.
Now, I'm going to just jump back to the carnivore diet, because right away I could tell when I said that. Some of you going, oh my God, Greg, my cholesterol, my fat, I'm going to be getting. Remember, your body burns fat for energy, except when there's a ton of carbohydrates in the way. If you have a ton of carbohydrates in you, your body burns the carbs first, and the good old body fat gets stored. Where if you didn't take in all that processed carbohydrate, your body would be thrilled to go for the fat and burn that as energy. And you'd be amazed. You'd start getting leaner, and it would get you back in shape where you could fight this cancer and beat it.
Yeah, there's a lot of studies that showed that like switching over to a low carb diet or carnivore diet basically showed a lot of anti-cancer benefits. And not only that, it also has helped like numerous autoimmune diseases, like gut issues, all kinds of things, people improve tremendously on. And I do just want to point out when we say like carnivore or low carb, I would stay away from all these like low carb bars or sauces or, that you're basically just putting.
Where they put the net carbs.
Yeah, they put net carbs on there, and it's basically like a chemical bomb is what it is, because they're trying to make it taste good without, any sweetness or anything. Like they're putting artificial sugar in it, food coloring, all of that. So definitely check the labels on those things. I have yet to come across one that isn't filled with chemicals, so I'd love to hear if, one does exist out there, but I don't think so. But two, going off that, like salad dressings, there's like low carb salad dressings, but really again, they have canola oil in them, they have chemicals, they have food coloring in them, a bunch of other stuff where you can easily make.
And I'm going to back you up. What kind of oil should you be eating?
You should be eating avocado oils, avocado, olive oil, macadamia nut oil. I'm trying to think of what's in my cabinet right now. I would just coconut oil is another one. Stay away from canola or any vegetable oil because it is so processed. It's basically useless and nothing but inflammatory. And again, it's like they use.
Can you explain what inflammatory means?
Oh, so inflammatory basically means like it is a swelling that so if I punched him in my dad's arm, his arm's going to be inflamed because I'm a good puncher and I'll leave a mark. But basically, so like it'll cause inflammation of like your gut lining big time. So your gut it's not just like a long, this is gross, but like it's not like, it's not just a long tube. It's actually like sections of tubes like close together. And so when you eat something that inflames it, basically they like swell up. So now you have little openings in between, which can lead to like leaky gut, things like that. And that like, so your body is made to attack anything that is not where it's supposed to be. So your food is supposed to be in your intestinal tube and not outside of it. Well, with leaky gut, if you have like holes in your gut lining from eating crap, basically, little food particles can get through and then your body starts to attack it. And that's where people see a lot of bloating.
And to interrupt you 1 second, and if your body's fighting cancer, and now it's got to fight that also.
True. Here, talking to your mic a little bit.
This is where you're running into problems.
Absolutely, yes. So you don't want to add any extra fight to what your body has to do. So you're like, you just want to keep it as simple, your body in the most relaxed state to where it can focus on what it needs to focus on and kill all those T cells, or not T cells, that's what you need. Kill all those cancer cells.
Now, with the carnivore diet, you know, the cholesterol thing, which we have mentioned once before, there really never was an issue till 1979, where all of a sudden it seemed like cholesterol took off like crazy. But you could look at this different research where they claim people that live the longest have the highest cholesterol. People that don't get dementia and Alzheimer's have high cholesterol. Now, coincidence maybe, all this cholesterol medicine, all this Alzheimer's and dementia all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny how it just kind of showed up. Not making any statements,
No.
just observing some things. And once again, if your body isn't living off of sugar, processed carbohydrates, it has to live off of your fat. And this will once again make you healthy. The protein builds your body back up, not just your muscles, but your organs and everything else, which makes you healthy again and able to fight this disease off.
Well, and another thing that I just thought of too is when you said, you know, with cholesterol and how they started to put sugar and everything around like late 70s, 80s, causing all kinds of obesity. Also, like if
Everything was fat-free.
yes, everything was fat free because they took sugar out of everything. Or I'm sorry, they took the fat out of everything and they put sugar in it. What they also did is, if you look back, like in the 90s, I'm an 80s kid, so like late 80s, early 90s. That's when a lot of this chemical stuff started happening, like really, really bad. So like I remember, and it was of course geared toward kids. So we had like purple ketchup, we had green ketchup, we had Go-Gurts, we had Squeeze-Its. I mean, we had everything that was Pop-Tarts, and things were like every color of the rainbow, not to mention all the cereals and stuff that we were fed. And, you know, nobody knew about all this stuff. So like, if you look back, obesity and all these diseases really started to skyrocket around the 80s. Like they kind of started to trickle and then it was like whoosh.
And people were eating less fat.
Yes. And more chemicals. And that's that's what happened. So like, if you're trying to figure out too, like, okay, who do I trust? Do I trust these people on the Alpha Male podcast? Do I trust my doctors who are, you know, saying this other thing, whatnot? I would encourage you to take a step back and go, okay, back before the 80s, everybody had, you know, like people were eating like steak, red meat, chicken, fat, like people were, you know, baking. And like, I think back to my grandma, Grandma Marge, she would bake nonstop, eat all of it, and not be like overweight at all. And nowadays, you don't see that anymore.
I'm going to interrupt you one sec. How old is Grandma?
99.
And a half.
Yeah, and a half. And I mean, she baked everything. She didn't, you know, it was a sin to buy store-bought anything. And you think back, like, you know, 50s, 60s, 70s, and then all of a sudden in the 80s, all these changes were made, and now we're the sickest we've ever been. Our life expectancy has actually gone down as a country. Cancer's at, you know, skyrocketing rates. Like, and you got to take a step back and go, okay, wait a second. None of this stuff was around before all these changes, before sugar was, you know, replaced fat, before all these chemicals, there's also other things that are going on too, like EMFs and.
Yeah, and I just want to interrupt you one second. Yes, I had cancer. They made a mistake and said I had it, but I really didn't.
Yes.
When they radiated me, that's how I got cancer. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't eating my high protein, high fat diet. Didn't give me cancer.
No.
Compliments of the radiation machine.
Yes, and they don't tell you that. They act like there's no side effects whatsoever, and it's just a safe, nice little, you know, thing you have to do for 8 weeks. No biggie. So, yeah.
But anyway, with the diet, that's why we would suggest trying that and adjusting your diet the best you possibly can. Mm-hmm. Because you have to rebuild your body whether you're going through chemo, whether you're going through radiation, or you're fighting it out on your own, you must rebuild those cells.
Yes.
And the only way we do that is from eating. Now, I know some people go, I can't eat. Well, if you have a feeding tube, like I did for, I don't know, it was 6 or 8 weeks, I put amino acids down there. I got liquid vitamins. I got protein powders. I did all that where I calculated out what my nutrients were. Omega-3 oils. So olive oil. We did the whole 9 yards. And Heather even used to make me smoothies. We used to pour down my tube.
Yeah. I mean, having a feeding tube actually, I think, works in your benefit during something like this because you don't have to worry about what it tastes like. So we just cared about, like whatever would get him to those numbers. That's what we made.
A lot of unique colors in that thing.
Yes. And I mean, we tried doing ground meat a couple times. And unfortunately, we couldn't get it ground enough because it kept clogging the tubes. But you can get really, really creative on that. So like if you do find yourself, with a feeding tube, don't feel like you have to listen to them and only use like their canned drinks and that are usually filled with sugar and chemicals. Get yourself
that's very high in carbohydrates.
It's terrible.
That they give you.
Like one of your cans, I couldn't even believe this. So they gave you some crappy generic thing that's what they give everybody, and you said no, I need like the healthy version, and so they gave you the quote unquote healthy version, which was terrible. Oh my God, 1 can, and you had to drink 8 of these a day in order to get the calories that you needed. Okay, 8, because that's when this was temporary because this is when you were still fighting with the doctor to allow you to put
Not the doctor,
yeah,
nutritionist.
the nutritionist, which I will say, I'm not saying that all nutritionists that work in hospitals are bad, but I have yet to see a good one that actually knows what they're talking about. I'm just throwing that out there. They're usually the worst at nutrition advice, but whatever. So,
well, because they follow that food pyramid.
Yes.
Which is upside down.
Okay, so again, you just to make this clear, you had just gotten out of surgery for throat cancer, okay? Vocal cord cancer, to be more specific. They wanted to give you the healthy version that you would have to eat 8 cans a day of that had 50 grams of brown rice solids, AKA sugar. Okay? Do the math on that. That is insane. Insane. And the nutritionist thought that was good. And oh my God, it was just, it's unbelievable. And that's what you're up against when you are, when you listen to the nutritionist at the hospital or the doctor's recommendations. Unfortunately, that's the kind of information that they're going to probably give you.
And we're not telling you not to listen to them.
I personally would not.
Take their information.
Yeah.
And do your own research.
Yes. If it were me, I would never drink that.
Well, we have some good doctors now, so that's why I don't want to say don't trust any doctor.
No, not any, but I would just say be prepared that's because how the hospital system works is that's what pharmaceutical rep got to the nutritionist and said, please buy my product. And that's why they do that. It's not because, what's best for you? Nobody looked at you and asked you, Greg, what is your goal? What do you want? Or do you want to gain? You want to get back to 210? Okay, this is what we're going to do. What really happens is, you need to eat and you have a feeding tube. Here's what our hospital has a contract with, and they just give it to you. And the fact that it had sugar in it is crazy. So that's, if you really want to think about this, and I get really pissed off about this. Okay, so that is there for people like you that had a feeding tube, which means it doesn't matter what it tastes like. Why would you put that much sugar in something? That doesn't make sense.
Well, it's cheap calories, and that's what they were trying to get.
But that's nuts. This is a hospital for someone who is sick. You shouldn't be going cheap. That's that's why I get so pissed off. And because people don't realize it. It doesn't come with a warning.
That one friend of yours you went to school with that had leukemia.
Oh yeah, he struggled with putting weight on, and I mean, granted, he was in remission, but still, he went to his doctor, and he's told Matt to eat sugar because that was the best way to gain weight. And when he told me that, I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" And I just, I don't understand. How is
What's sad is Matt's no longer with us.
yes, unfortunately, and he chose to listen to the doctors, and unfortunately, it didn't work out. But it infuriates me because so many people, we were taught growing up the wrong thing about nutrition, total wrong thing.
Upside down food pyramid.
Yeah. And then, so nobody learns how to eat. And then when you go to the hospital, when you're, you're fearful, you're vulnerable, you don't know what to do, the bad information continues. And then they give you something that has nothing to do with benefiting you. It has to do with a contract at the hospital that some administrator decided to sign.
And that's why when they tell you to do something, always ask why.
Yeah.
Not just because you're telling me why. Why is that way better? What about this way?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you need to be able to do. Speak for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't always have your best interest. I think, like Heather said, sometimes, I hate to say this, some places sell out to the highest bidder.
Absolutely.
And it's about money. And I realize it's a business. But I thought they swore that oath that they were supposed to do us no harm.
Yeah, I don't think that they abide by that anymore.
Well, I think we got a lot more to talk about on this.
Yeah.
We're about running out of time.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I get so mad about it. I get infuriated because I just think people are masquerading around as somebody that they're not.
Well, that's what they were taught, and they didn't go outside the lines to look. And that's a shame because just like with me being in education, okay, you taught me how to do your way, and then I learned other ways, and then I did the best way, not just the way you tried to shove down my throat.
Yeah, I guess I wish that people that worked in hospitals, especially with a sick, vulnerable population, and especially when, like, with something like cancer, where, the numbers are, like, skyrocketing, that they would maybe take a step back and kind of think, okay, what's going on? What's wrong? And not just keep doing the same terrible thing. I guess that's really what infuriates me because, especially with that, like, if there's any job that you should be doing that and taking the extra step, it should be that. And
by the way, I don't know why that just popped in my head because I remember Mom had mentioned this. Like a lot of ladies get mammograms.
mm-hmm.
And when they put the breast in.
They like smush it.
Right. And I've had some reading and some other people telling me when they squish it, if you have the start of a little tumor or whatever,
yeah,
that's what breaks it up and gets it going in the system. That you shouldn't really have that. You should have that.
Yeah, I can't remember what kind of test that is, but I think because Mom, had it done, where it's like
Right.
a full body scan.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a thermogram. Thank you, Mom. It's a thermogram. Where, yes, that's so much better. And one last thing. This is what I'm going to say. And this might be an unpopular opinion, but whatever. I don't really care. So I just think that, like with this cancer thing, they have marketed it so well. It's like, again, this is like a conspiratorial thought. They have marketed it so well, and they put out there like, you're a fighter, which don't get me wrong, you are. But almost to a point, they overdo it so you can't question anything. Like for instance, like with you didn't have cancer. Nobody wants to hear, like anybody that went through radiation or chemo doesn't want to hear that they might not have had cancer. So you can't question it. So if let's just say we never found out that you didn't have cancer, but it never made sense to me, and you went through everything. It's like, I can't approach you and say, I don't know if you ever had cancer or not. And that, or like with the mammogram, there's so many people that like have breast cancer that you can't, because they are told that's what saved their life. So you can't tell them not to get, mammograms are bad. They get defensive.
That's why I check Mom every night.
Yeah. Gross. Don't say that. But do you know what I mean? Like, am I making sense? Like, I think that and whether it's purpose or accident, it's almost like you develop this mentality that you can't question anything, because you can't question those that have fought cancer and beat it, or fought cancer and did not, win the battle. And you just can't question it, and you just keep going forward and doing the exact same thing. It's almost like anybody that goes to rock the boat or say something different or question, like, chemo, I think, is killing people instead of actually helping them. It's like, don't say that. That's what saved my life. And it's like, but did it? Like, it's almost like you cannot question anything because it's offensive to people that went through it. And
one thing I will say, too, on chemo, and then we better wrap this up. The one place I went to down in Mansfield, this is when we still thought I had it. They had chemo that it was specific. So when they did that RGC test to do the chemo that would just attack those cancer, where usually we found out chemo is just a shotgun approach, where we hope it kills cancer, but it might kill a few other things also.
yeah.
But, hey, I hope this helped you today. We got more we'd like to talk to him once again. If you have any questions.
Yeah, definitely email us at info@thealphamalepodcast.com, and definitely make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And one last little tidbit, I will say, I would not be saying to question anything if what we were doing was currently working. It just seems like we're not headed in the right direction. And that's why I think it's so important to start questioning things, and because that's not to take anything away from those that went through anything, but to make it better for those coming up that do have it.
Well, I'm amazed, Mom and I are, how many people come up to us and tell us they have cancer and they know somebody, and it's like, holy schmoly.
It's crazy.
Where
It's
is
so
all
much
this coming from? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I think we have to start asking questions and start wondering, like, nobody knows what's causing all this. Is it actually being caused? Is the diagnostics getting widened? I mean, and so now what would have not been considered cancer 10 years ago is now considered cancer. And they're, happy to sign you up for chemo and radiation when you wouldn't have gotten it 10 years. I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking questions. And I think people need to start asking questions. And just because it was done in the past, and it doesn't take anything away from those people that did go through it that way. It's just, that's not the best way.
Well, that's what we're trying to get to. Mm-hmm. Because if we could save somebody, that's our whole purpose on that. Mm-hmm. Well, hey, thank you very much for joining us. And I hope you tune in again.
Yeah, we'll see you next time, guys.
Bye.
Bye.